Okay, here's another League of Legends game coming your way, this time with Karma on the top lane. So, on account of the Mummy game being so short, I figured I should do a companion video, and the other aspect of it is, my schedule has been a little erratic for these games lately, and one more can kind of make up for the little uncertainty in the uploads. So as for our matchups, we have... Now right here I thought Talon was going top because of the teleport, but it's actually Katarina top against me, Karma, Talon mid against Riven. And we have Xinjiao in the jungle, Graves partnered with Brandbot. As for how Karma works, passes Gathering Fire. When you deal damage to champions, you reduce the cooldown on your ult, because everything about Karma revolves around her ult, which if you notice is available at rank 1. So auto attacks, I believe, reduce your cooldown by 1 second, spells reduce it by 2, and the spell itself starts out with something like a 40-second cooldown, so every hit you can land is all the more effective. You can see the cooldown right there. And it's flat CDR, that's the other advantage to it. Your Q is Inner Flame, or Inner Fire, or something like that. It's a short to medium range linear skill shot. It doesn't pass through minions, unfortunately. It blows up on the first thing it hits. Does damage to stuff in the surrounding area, and when under the effect of your ult, it will give a bigger explosion. And I'll talk about Xinjiao momentarily. And it will do a secondary explosion. Now what's so important about the Mantra Q is that it pushes your AP ratio cumulatively above 1.0. So you can really nuke someone down as an AP Karma if they don't actually know about that ratio. Your W is Focused Resolve. It's a tether type move. You deal damage as the tether is connected to the enemy, and if the enemy doesn't break the tether in time, then they get rooted in place. Now, I don't think that's actually enough to break Katarina's ult, but the Focus Resolve also gives you vision of the target while it's connected to them. And if you're wondering why this is so important, you remember Talon stealths during his ult. So I can actually use my tether to reveal him. Since, like I said, I was predicting going up against him. Your E is... oh crud, what's it called now? No, Renewal's the Mantra W. Okay, I forgot to talk about the Mantra W. Mantra W, what this does is that it's still a tether type move. Ah, here goes Cat. She underestimated that ratio as well as just the base damage. So your Mantra W has 2 new tricks applied to it. The first is that it will heal you based off of how much health you're missing. So you can really bait in an enemy if they think you're close to dying. You can use that, all of a sudden you get a surge of health and you might be able to turn things around on them. Unfortunately, as an AP Karma, I think more often than not you want to use your Mantra for your Q because it has the really good ratio. On account of only having 2 true damage moves, you really have to make the most out of the ones you have. And sadly, I don't remember what the ratio is on the W when you're using Mantra, but I don't think it's really that impressive. Secondary effect is that it adds a full second onto the duration of the root if it does proc. And what's so important about this is, once the W is max rank, if you use the Mantra on that, it's tied for the Crystal Arrow and the Dark Binding for longest lasting CC in the game. Now, like I said, unfortunately it's not exactly hard CC. The enemy can still attack while under the root.
To conquer oneself is
As for the E, I think it might be called Defiance? I'm not totally sure, but it's a shield move. Now, unlike other shields in the game, Karma has the ability to shield minions. So you can be really annoying with some of your tower plays by shielding the siege minions so that it's much, much harder to kill. And don't be ashamed to use your Mantra Q for wave clear because it's a fairly short cooldown, all things considered, and the Mantra itself is free to use. The problem with Karma is that her Q is... or not her Q, it's her W that isn't that affordable. As for your E, when you use Mantra on that, it becomes AoE. Every ally within the area will receive the same shield, and they get the movement speed component that comes with it. I forgot to mention that the movement speed on your E does scale with rank. when you use mantra, it's automatically like a rank 5, which is why
Negotiations.
ideally in a perfect world you want to max the E last, but the team here is a train wreck, so I have to max that second. And finally, your ult is mantra. You push it, and then your next ability does something special. Okay, as for the game at hand, I played with a few of these guys in the game before this. We had an AFK, which is why that one's not coming up on the channel. And the good news is I got to be with some of them again. The bad news is when you play with higher ranked players, they are assholes. It may sound a little blunt, but you'll see what I mean as this game goes on.
To conquer oneself is to conquer all.
Otherwise, for Karma, on the account of me being I'm an AP versus an AP lane here, I am going to be going for the Athene's Unholy Grail. I was prepared to go for Morello Nomicon in the event I went up against Talon. The advantage to this is I can poke him down and inflict grievous wounds. Pretty much every Talon I've ever fought against eventually goes for a Ravenous Hydra. That gives them lifesteal, and by being able to inflict grievous wounds, you can kind of bait them into some bad trades.
They will not crush our spirit.
As for where I go from there, purely depends on the way the game is playing out. A lot of people like to go Luden's Echo next to supplement your pushing power because you only have one spell for wave clear, your Q.
Hope is the greatest ally.
So the Luden's works wonders for Karma. And unfortunately right there you got to see she had the Ignite. That might not have been the only thing that broke the camel's back, but it was good enough for her to get the kill here. Unfortunately for her, I now have the completed Grail, or not the Grail, the Chalice. So I have some MR to deal with her, as well as enhanced mana regen, so that I don't have to worry about my spells as much. And in case you wonder, it's going to be kind of rough to beat Katarina here. Bad news is the Xinjiao is absolutely worthless this game. You'll see what I mean as time comes, and which is what's so confusing about for me is he was complaining about having me in the game or something for some reason, I don't know why, and I'm the guy who had the strongest impact out of this
To
team.
conquer oneself.
But our major problem's going to be the bot lane, in case you're wondering. You'll notice for the most part, I can deal with Cat. The main thing we have to worry about is just if she walks off somewhere to get kills, but the good news is she doesn't have teleport, so she can't actually make any clutch plays. Speaking of which, if you look at her inventory, she has Sorcerer's Shoes and an Aether Wisp. She's rushing Luden's Echo. If you're not familiar with what that combo says, it's all movement speed. She is scared to death of my tether because she knows if she gets bound, I can just blow her up like I did to get First Blood, and that's kind of how this is going to be playing out. Her objective is, once she gets the tether attached to her, is get as far away as possible.
Focus.
So you can see right there, her Death Lotus actually isn't something I need to worry about right now because she went for mobility rather than raw power. So my shield is pretty much enough to withstand it as long as I use the movement speed to walk away. And we both have means to harass each other through the use of our Qs. Her Bouncing Blade, my Inner Fire.
Peace begins within.
An ally has been slain.
The bad news is, going back to Shin, their Malphite does wonders for them this game. And our Shin is just awful. On one hand, this was recorded while the Devourer was disabled, but I'm hoping the guy had the common sense to read the notes, realize, hey, this is disabled, and factor his play into it. But realistically, he probably didn't, and we suffer as a result of it. Because the way he plays, if you notice, he's farming, but he's a warrior jungler, and a early power jungler at that. It just doesn't make sense to me. But if you looked at Talon's build, he has a pickaxe and 2 longswords. Those are components for the Hydra. So Morello would come in handy for him. It's just, in order to best deal with Katarina, I have to go for the Unholy Grail. And I get the impression she's maxing her W here, maybe her E, just to break the tether, because she's not doing a lot of damage with those bouncing blades. Now, you may say, hey, I have a challenge, so that's 25 MR. Well, if you know, she has Sorcerer Shoes already, so she gets 15 penetration, which means I effectively only get 10 MR from that item. So, like, I don't know what she's running for runes and masteries. I could probably still check.
Is to conquer.
It's just, I don't know. But otherwise, the other thing I can talk about is, in case you're wondering who my third candidate for my AP top laner is going to be, it's Karma. And if you're probably wondering why Karma,
Victory is
well, the reason for that is she may not have, like, a lot of burst compared to some of the other AP characters. That's why she's probably not really that great in mid. I don't really play her there. But she does bring some things that make her a valuable pick nonetheless. So my main gripe with Vladimir is that he doesn't have CC. Well, Karma has her tether, so you don't have to worry about that. She has wave clear, just like Vladimir and Lysandra in the form of her Q and technically her mantra. Now the thing is, she actually does have team utility in the form of her E. Oh, here goes Cat. So your shield can help either disengage a fight through the movement speed, especially if you use Mantra on it. You can use it to start a fight by just doing like a poor man's Shirelia's. Or your other option is just like using it to protect your carry. So Karma is a very, very flexible pick. And it's like the same line of thinking as Lulu top, but it's just I think Karma has better ratios. So right here I'm just a little confused on what I should get next. I opt to get a Amp Tome because I was thinking I could go Zonias, I could go Ludens, I could go Death Cap, I could go Haunting Guys. And Amp Tome is in so many damn things these days that you can't really go wrong buying one. But otherwise, everything is pretty much up. I'm looking for the opportunity to maybe teleport bot. Like I said with Talon, I can actually see Vayne in stealth if I can tether her. The bad news is just there's no harmony or synchronicity in the bot lane, so Brand and Graves are going to be playing the blame game as they feed horribly. And like I said, since these are Platinum and higher players, they act like 6-year-olds. Otherwise, right here you'll see I push the C key periodically, just try to get a feel for my mana regen. I want to see if I can just shove this into the tower and not have to worry about Cat disappearing from nowhere and trying to get a kill off on Riven or something. But you can see Cat still has the same items. She's saving up for an Insu Large Rod for her Ludens. Now, I have my Grail, I have my Amp Tome. I pack much more of a punch than when I killed her last time. And to make things worse, she hasn't gotten any items to try to break this impasse for her. Right now, she went back, but if you remember when she got the kill on me under tower, she's packing Ignite, not Teleport. So if she wants to leave, she has to run back. Granted, if you had to do that, 2 of the items you'd want to have in your inventory to do so would be your tier 2 boots and a Luden's Echo, which made me in a close third. So right here I'm just using the opportunity to get some damage down on the tower. So I can't really see her inventory. I'm trying to see what it is right now, but it's just way too small on my screen.
Hope is the greatest ally.
The way Cat wins this lane is just by trying to drag the fights out until I run out of mana, since she's resourceless and has very, very low cooldowns, Shunpo accepted. She wins the long run. And right here I try to bait her in, but I mess up the shield. So if I had put the shield up first, I probably could have killed her because she Shunpo'd in. I just have to tether her, and when the tether pops, then I just hit her with Q for the kill. But as a result, I go ahead and pick up the Sorcerer's Shoes so that way I can keep up with her. I can make sure that the tether lasts as long as possible. And Riven plays this so horribly. The bad part is I figure, okay, she's safe, I don't have to teleport in, but she's gonna do something really, really stupid momentarily, and had I teleported in, I might have been able to save her or turn things around. So as a result of my teleport, all I get in return is just the CS. Which is not a bad thing, don't get me wrong, it's just... Riven played that like crap.
Onward, always.
Anyway, at this stage of the game, I'm still not certain on what my next item is going to be. An Aether Wisp would definitely be nice so I can keep up with Katarina and therefore get the tether off. The only drawback is, since I'm seeing the writing on the wall and I can't trust my team, I'm maxing the barrier spell instead of the tether. The tether is really, really nasty at level 1. It's just... the stars did not align to make it so. And with that little purple explosion, you can see she has her Lulus now. And here comes the Goon Squad. So right here, they burn pretty much everything on me. Not much I can do when there's 3 of them there, but to make things worse, our bot lane has no answer for this. Like, especially how strong Graves is over Vayne, especially early game. They should have been able to make her bleed for that. But instead, the 2 screw-ups don't do anything. And to make things worse, you can see how bad this Xin Zhao is and how far behind. So at this point, I'm starting to wonder, are we just going to surrender at 20 or what? Because there's no silver lining here. They're just way too far behind to matter.
Focus your wit and will.
To make things worse, Riven started to lose 2 talons, so... right there, the distortion didn't get picked up for one reason or another, but... as a result, I lose my tower because of just... our jungler having no influence whatsoever, and the bot lane being as influential as the jungle.
To conquer oneself.
So right here, Riven's trying to call them out on their crap, but it doesn't matter. So one thing that you should take away from this, if nothing else, is that if you're playing Xin Zhao and you go warrior, you have to do something, otherwise you fall off like a brick. If you try to play it the way this guy is, you will never matter at all the entire game.
None will question our resolve.
The way he's playing would fit like a Devourer type jungler. I mean, he could try to be a late game issue by going like a tank Xin Zhao, like Cinderhulk and stuff, and then defensive stats. That would not be as bad because my shield gets the biggest return with a tank. It's just... high rank players, they all have the if I don't carry, no one will mentality, and they have the temper tantrums that 6-year-olds have.
Together, we shall triumph.
So right here I was hoping to try to loop around and catch Talon. You can see that he's out of mana, so he doesn't exactly have a reliable way to escape from me. It's just unfortunately I didn't have my mantra up to take a bigger piece out of him. And as a result I got some damage down on him, but there's just nothing else to be found here,
To
really.
conquer oneself is to conquer all.
An ally has been slain. An enemy has been slain.
So we we got Malphite. It cost us our jungler, but that's not necessarily a bad trade. Here is one of the few good fights we're actually going to have. Thresh went way too far forward, he ate the Riven Stun, which tied into my tether, and then Graves finished him. As for Cat, with our CC out of the way, she went in. Good call on her part. Talon shows up for the cleanup. Unfortunately for him, I'm not afraid of him. So I just speed up, connect the tether, and free shutdown gold for me. Now the other important thing to note here is if you look at my character model, I have the red buff. That is going to come into play for the next fight with Katarina, because remember, her escape from my tether is running away. Well, red buff has a slow component built into it. And it's gonna suck to be our ninja friend. All in all, it's going to be a kind of hilarious death, I guess. She at least had a good laugh about it, you might as well. But in the meantime, since no one's collecting the bot lane CS, I decided to help myself. For one reason or another, Shin is pushing my lane, even though he's not having any influence anywhere. To make matters worse, he actually probably would have been better off laying it freeze over there. That way, they'd have to come into the danger zone to try to unfreeze it. Shin and I technically have a lot of lockdown between us with his knock-up, his slow, my slow, and ultimately my snare, root, whatever the damn W is. It's just, he doesn't have the brains to take advantage of it. Granted, Katarina is pretty mobile. It's very, very hard to lock her down. It's just, depending on how he plays things, he actually can do it because of the way his knee works. It's just you do not want to lead with that into Katarina. You want to hold on to that until after she burns Shunpo. So right there is Death Lotus. She goes ahead and does her whole burst, and you can see that now with some AP and some penetration, just even as her sorcerer shoes, it kind of does hurt. Bad news for her is she got really, really greedy here, burned her Shunpo, her flash. I used the red buff and my root to freeze her under tower, and down she goes. In all honesty, I don't really know what she was thinking there, because I got the shield from the tower. You can see she actually hit it to try to get rid of the shield. The thing is, I have my own shield, so I can put up another shield even in the event that she takes one down. But the main problem we have here is we have an early game gank heavy jungler who is waiting till late game and not ganking.
Enemy double kill.
And you can see right there that the bot lane is no match for Vayne. There is some argument that Vayne is the one remnant of the strong AD carry, since at one point or another every AD carry has been nerfed this season. And if you've been paying attention to the patch notes, in the next patch he's joining that list. Granted, it's only an early game nerf. She is stronger late as resulted by like 1 or 2 AD. It's just our Riven is behind, our bot lane is non-existent, our jungler is non-existent. And the worst part is I end up dealing like as much damage as the second and third highest on my team combined. Which is really, really disappointing. To make things worse, as you may have guessed, the second and third on the team for most damage are of course Riven and Brand. Yeah, he has Moby boots and he doesn't gank. It makes no sense.
An ally has been slain.
So right here you can see that even with the slow from my Q, it's not enough to dissuade Vayne. But I can use my W as well as my flash to create some distance, and since I pulled them up here, normally that would be the cue for my team to do something, but you saw my team die down bot. Riven was able to get into position and get the shutdown on Vayne. I got the assist. It's just the two of us can't really do much. She's still relatively far behind, and everywhere else is... They could have been AFK and probably contributed even more to this game just through not giving up any gold through dying. So right here I was hoping that maybe we could try to catch them around the dragon, but you can see Riven's just way too far out there. To make matters worse, since Katarina was there to take part of it, even though she used her ult, the way her passive works, she's going to have Death Lotus up again relatively soon anyway. So with Riven's actions, it's a free dragon for them. And since Shin isn't really doing anything for me, I figure I'll help myself to some of his jungle camps, that way I can stay relevant one way or another.
Onward, always.
And at this point I'm kind of convinced Graves was just intentionally feeding. He will throw a temper tantrum, don't worry. It's just, on that note, I just have to suspect that that is intentional on his part. So right there I give the movement speed to Shin to try to keep up with Katarina, even though she has all of the movement speed from her tier 2s and her Ludens. Ah, right here Talon's going to commit suicide. So unfortunately for him, if he's close enough to the tower, I can see him. And once I have the tether on him, I can still see him. Bad news is right here that Dead Man's play on Malphite is causing all sorts of graphical glitches. I've only had this happen once, so I definitely don't think it's a common occurrence, but I don't know for absolute certain. As for right here, you can see Graves' temper tantrum. And since my team doesn't seriously want to play, I figure, why even bother? Just go surrender, find a new game with a real team that actually wants to play, and just leave this one behind.
Your inhibitor has been destroyed.
So pretty much when I unmute someone in-game, that's my ultimate concession that I give up.
We shall triumph.
At this point, I actually am not even putting in any effort. It's just, I'm killing time, doing what I can to not proc a lever bust or anything like that, and just wait until either the enemy team inevitably ends the game, or my team pulls their heads out of their asses and surrenders. So for those of you that say there's still hope and all that crap, you have to actually look at the map. Katarina's assassinations are pretty good. The only way we can interrupt them is with a conditional brand stun, a third hit from Xin Zhao, or the ribbon stun. Otherwise there's no way to actually do so. Graves and I don't necessarily have the tools to do anything. As for AD carries, they have Vayne. That's pretty much one of the... I'd say it's between Vayne and Clog for the absolute best late game AD carry. So we don't have that going for us, especially when you factor in that Graves is trolling, raging, whatever you want to think of it. We don't have anything in the bottom lane going for us. As for the mid lane, we have a Riven who's behind, so there's nothing there. And when you get to the jungler, we have a Xin Zhao who went warrior and did nothing for the first 20 minutes of the game. So while you may say there is hope, numbers strongly say otherwise. You can also go as far as to factor in the gold disadvantage we're currently sitting at, as well as the dragon disadvantage. Like, we have next to no objectives. And right here you can probably see why Brand does so much damage overall in the game, I hope. So I pick off Thresh. Malphite commits suicide right here, trying to show off.
Victory is assured.
So yeah, he decided to stand in the soul fire and start laughing, which is not the wisest of moves. In case you're not familiar with soul fire, the secondary explosion does as much damage as the initial impact. So it's not something to be taken lightly.
An ally has been slain.
So if not for, well, in the event I didn't actually upload this, I'd probably still have uploaded a clip of the Malphite thing just for a good laugh. You can see showboating backfire.
Peace begins within.
but like I've been saying for a while now, the game's actually over. It's just, for one reason or another, most likely rage, they refuse to throw in the towel, and as a result I have to sit here and suffer. In case you're wondering, I think I did end up reporting Graves after this, since it doesn't get better, he goes even worse once the game ends.
To conquer oneself is to conquer all.
To be completely honest, I am surprised he isn't chat restricted already. If maybe he just got off one, but if the way that the instant reporting thing works, I would not have been surprised to hear as soon as I reported him that he got some sort of punishment. So right here you can see that 3 of us won out. I imagine that's probably Brand, Ribbon, and me. It's Graves and probably Shin that want to stick around. So Baron goes down. Realistically, we have no way to contest that because we don't have a mid lane inhibitor. We have nothing going our way. No goal, no objectives, nothing. As for right here, I burned my flash to get away from Thresh. I end up getting caught with his smoke, unfortunately, so I get cut down by the Fed Talon. And pretty much at this point, I'm just hoping they end the game. You can see that just by looking at the clock, that is going to happen. So for the Karma play, it's pretty solid. Something I definitely want to try again. She's one of the top 3 contenders, as I said. With a real team, people who actually knew what to do instead of just rage the entire game, I think this could have been a much better, more interesting game. It's just, as rank goes up, intelligence and maturity goes down. It's that simple. But that's it for